Hi, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About This. I am your host, Crystal Hicks. My guest today is Angela T. Moore. Angela has years of experience in mental health and physical health industry, integrative health expert. She's also helped countless individuals strengthen their minds and bodies through an integrative health approach using proven therapeutic interventions, effective exercise methods, and healthy lifestyle strategies. She holds a master's in counseling from Oakland University, and she has a master's in business management from Walsh College, as well as a bachelor's in sociology from the University of Virginia. Welcome to the podcast, Angela. How you doing?
Fabulous. How
I'm good. I'm good. You look amazing, by the way. So how's that? Where are you at now? Where are we communicating? Where are we chatting from? I like to ask
are
my
you?
guests where that they're at, when I'm doing interviews.
Yeah, well, I'm actually in Washington Township, Michigan.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Not
okay.
too far from Detroit.
Oh, okay. Detroit in the building. All right. So my first
Yeah.
question I want to ask you is integrative health approach. Could you explain what an integrative health approach entails and how it benefits both mental and physical health?
Yeah, and actually the term would be more so integrative, and what that is an understanding that you can't separate mental from physical health, I don't believe. And so I am a NASM master trainer, and I have certifications in performance enhancement, corrective exercise, fitness, nutrition, as well as group personal training and personal training. I'm also a licensed counselor in the state of Michigan. I was actually training for a number of years, actually for decades. I trained professional athletes and uh, everyday people,
Okay.
housewives, and I like to say, weekend warriors. And one of the things that I recognized when I was training individuals from a physical health perspective is that they were often turning to me from a mental health perspective. So they were seeking support for some really significant life challenges. And I was able to use exercise to help them through those life challenges. But what I also recognized is there needed to be some very specific work done as it relates to their mental health. And so that's when I went back to school and acquired another master's degree so that I was able to cater to the mental part of my clients. Not that I wasn't before, but I need to do so with the training, the skills, the expertise and experience that I could only gain from going back to school and receiving many years of training. And so, where at one point I was just doing really focusing on the physical health aspect of health, I
Right.
really intentionally integrated the mental and nutritional. That's what gives you the integrative
Right.
approach.
Yeah, because they all go together. Your mental, your physical, nutrition, and all of those play a part. And sometimes, people who aren't educated in mental health don't realize that. They think that, sometimes it's just the mental part of it, but it's everything. It's a whole, physical, mental, your whole well-being.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. And what a lot of people don't realize is that what you eat, and I think I would say this, I don't think that the general public realizes, but definitely medical professionals and wellness professionals have known it, but are now articulating it more, is that there is a direct connection between what you eat
Mm-hmm.
and it does have a direct effect on how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And neurologically, when you are consuming certain foods, it can actually put you in a depressive state.
Mm.
And so, yeah, and the one amazing thing about exercise is it's the one thing that you can do in addition to eating well that you can literally start doing right away and start reaping the mental and physical health benefits of that movement.
Right, right.
Hmm.
So, with therapeutic intervention, what types of therapeutic interventions do you find most effective in your practice, and how you integrate them with exercise and a lifestyle
Yeah,
strategy?
I would say, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you said strategies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say probably CBT, also person-centered therapies. And so, cognitive behavioral therapy really it's all about understanding that, and I'll break it down in a simple way. What you think has a lot to do with how you behave, and then I'm sorry, what you think has a lot to do with your emotions. And then based on those emotions, it's going to motivate you to behave in a certain way. And so when
Hmm.
you have a way of thinking that is problematic,
Right.
and you have problematic emotions, then, subsequently you're going to behave in a way that can be problematic. And
Hmm.
so by understanding that this past trauma or this current situation or circumstance that I'm in is causing me to think this way, therefore I am feeling this way, therefore I am acting and behaving in this way, and being able to say, okay, I need to change that way of thinking. I need to change those dysfunctional thinking patterns. And then having someone like myself actually help you, one, identify that there's a dysfunction there, help you identify there may be some distorted thinking patterns, and perhaps there's some things from your past that you haven't processed and dealt with that are now affecting your present and can ultimately affect your future. I find that that is a very effective approach because it helps people understand not so much what I'm doing, because that they know they're experiencing it, right?
Hmm.
It's like, why? Why am I acting this way? And then how can I change it? And then really, the therapeutic approaches that I find most effective is just truly focusing on the client.
Hmm.
And that may sound really simple, but so much time we focus on the actions of the person. I often tell, I work within school systems, and I often say to the administrators and the teachers that I work with that when you have a child that's behaving badly, or if you're an adult and you're behaving badly, we don't need to focus on the what, we need to understand why. So,
Right.
why is it that you're behaving that way? Or why do you not feel that you're able to accomplish your goals, your dreams, and aspirations? What is it mentally that is causing you to see what it is, what situation your circumstance you're in as an obstacle that's keeping you from moving forward. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah,
Hmm.
it does. Yeah. Because, sometimes people could get stuck in that situation.
Yeah.
You become, you have that that victim mentality, and you can get stuck there, because I
Hmm.
found myself being in that situation at one point. And like you said, I had to get to the point of why was I being, because it was blocking me from elevating, to the
Hmm.
next level. So, with my own struggles that I had, my mental struggles, that was the whole purpose of me starting this platform. And why this platform is based on mental health and wellness is because of my own struggles that I had. And
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot. I really am learning so much about mental health and wellness. These are things that we weren't taught, coming up in school and things of that nature. So these are things that you have to learn on your own. And we have to continue to have more conversations like this, so people can open up and not be afraid to speak on what they're going through, because some people are just ashamed to talk about certain situations that they've been through.
Yeah, most definitely. And I can relate to you when you talk about being a victim. I had to shift from a victim mentality to a victor mentality.
Hmm.
And I wrote a wonderful article, and I will say a wonderful article because it was a time for me to really open up and share some of my own personal challenges, and how for many years I allowed myself to be a victim. I defined myself by the traumatic experiences that I had. I literally would introduce myself as like, I'm Angela. My mom died when I was 13. My brother died by suicide. My uncle died. All these things happened to me. And that was the way I defined myself. What I realized one day when I was having a conversation with a friend is I was continuously talking about that. It was like I was stuck. I was
Right.
stuck in that narrative that had become my narrative. And that's how I described myself, and that's how I defined myself. And also, I would say it was a large motivating factor for the choices and decisions that I made in my life. and you think about it, that's not what you want to base your life on, is loss and
Right.
hurt and pain. And so one of the things that I talk about often is the importance of, one, shifting from a victim mentality to a victor mentality, but also to understand when you are healing from a place of hurt as opposed to healing from a place of health. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm very intentional, why I do I would say address things from an integrative standpoint, is understanding that if you are mentally, physically, nutritionally well, then you can operate from a place of health. You're making your decisions from a place of stability and strength, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to sadness and weakness or grief and loss and hurt. Do you see the difference in that?
Yeah, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
kind of hard for a lot of people because, some people don't realize that they are, if you're not self-aware, you won't know these things. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people aren't aware of the fact that they're playing the victim constantly and that they're stuck in that situation and they don't realize it. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that people just aren't self-aware and they don't understand what it is that they're going through. And and when they don't understand it, they don't seek the help. Because I'm speaking as from my experience, because that's what happened with me. Like, I was dealing with all these mental struggles and I didn't know what it was that I was struggling with, until I started actually until I started this podcast and I started talking to doctors and therapists and mental health advocates and things of that nature. So what would you tell somebody who is in that situation?
Oh, stuck, would you say? Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Somebody
would
who's stuck
say,
in
hmm?
somebody who's stuck and don't know or realize that they're stuck. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
And yeah, and so one of the things that I would say is, oftentimes you don't know you're stuck
Mm-hmm.
and you don't recognize you're stuck. And then you have created a life that supports that um the fact that you're stuck. So
Mm-hmm.
you will surround yourself with people that allow you to stay stuck. So like you may have dysfunctional thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll surround yourself with dysfunctional people.
Right.
And so you're not going to notice that you're stuck because those people are supporting that dysfunction. Do
Mm.
you see? So I
I,
do think that, as we age, we do get to a certain point at age, where you say, wow, like, surely I am better than I can be better than I am today.
mm-hmm.
And I think if you can look at your life right now, and I would say to anyone that's going to be listening to us, if you're looking at your life right now and you don't like what your life is, ask yourself why. Why don't I like my life? Is it the people that are in my life? Is it the occupation, the career that I've chosen to do? Is it the way that I live the day to day? Is it the type relationships that I have? And
Mm-hmm.
if you would say no to any of those, like, I don't like my profession, my career. I don't like my relationships. I don't like this. I don't like that. Then decide to change it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
know that if you don't feel like you have the tools or the coping mechanisms, or I would say the knowledge to make change, then seek someone out that
Mm-hmm.
has maybe accomplished that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that has had to deal with the things that you've had to deal with and has overcome that. That may be a great start.
Right, right.
Mm.
Um, as someone who deeply involved in the health industry, what trends are you most excited about currently?
Yeah, uh I would say definitely a now, I think, a better understanding of how important mental health is.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that there was a time when, and I think it still exists to a point, where, especially in the African American community, there was in the stigmatization associated with mental health. Like, you just didn't talk about that. And I do believe that COVID actually caused people to have those kind of tough conversations, to really
Yeah.
understand that it's okay to not to say that you're not okay.
Right.
And so I think I do like that, and I do think that's kind of continued. And as I said, I work in school systems, and I provide mental health supportive services to administrators and coordinators and directors, as well as principals and assistant principals and teachers. And they are recognizing, and there's more efforts put towards the social emotional learning of themselves in addition to the kids, because there was a little emphasis on that as it relates to kids, to understand that kids needed it, but they didn't really understand that, like I have to be well in order for me to support the kids.
That's
So
true.
I do like that trend. I do also feel that there is a greater appreciation for health, for
Mhm.
being healthy, because one thing COVID did show us is that those individuals that um I would say separate from other, social determinants of health that is often discussed, in certain populations, there was limited access to healthcare, and there always has been.
Right.
But I will say that there definitely was a shift towards understanding that your physical health is important, and that uh, regardless of where you live, that it's important to take steps to try to improve your physical health as much as possible. Because as we know, that there were a lot of people that were, if you were not so well, or if you had any pre-existing condition, COVID took you out,
Oh
or it
yeah.
was a lot harder to fight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, could you share a success story from a client who has significantly benefited from your integrative health approach?
Yeah, gosh, I have so many wonderful people that I've been able to touch in a really significant way. And I'm trying to think of, interesting, because tomorrow I'm going to be meeting with two clients that literally, back in 2008, I had a brick and mortar. And so this studio allowed people to come and work out. And I had, kickboxing bags and plyo boxes and slam balls and all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And these two individuals that started with me, um, they literally stayed my clients from 2008 till 2020, when I actually had to close because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm meeting with them tomorrow. Like, we still have that relationship, and they are probably, I would say, and I think I can say their name, Jane and Rich. I won't say their last names. They're a married couple. They are in their 70s, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause, nobody likes to talk about their age.
Yeah, that's true.
But I would say, they came in wanting to get in shape, and they have been in the best shape of their lives. And I contributed to that. They, are active grandparents. They travel with their kids. They ski. They do all these wonderful activities, and they're able to do it and do it well without aches and pains and major issues. And so I would say those are probably a good example of, I would say, a success story, and how nice that they're married and they're both able to benefit from their hard work.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
plays a major role. I'm telling you, when you constantly work on yourself, like I found myself, that's what I've been doing a lot lately. Something I've never
Mhm.
done in years was just focus on working on myself, mentally, physically, spiritually, um, and just making it a lifestyle. And it started for me from an injury. I had a really bad injury. And that's where it all started for me. I was like, okay, I don't want to be stuck in this injury. So I have to work and I have to keep working on myself so I could walk again, so I could I didn't want to feel sit in the sorrow of what I went through. So it's a constant thing. And it's a lot of it is mental too. Would you think?
Mhm. Yeah, I do. I do. And I would say, and it's funny because I almost want to say fortunately and unfortunately, it is sometimes after an accident or something traumatic that happens, where you go to the doctor and you get this diagnosis and it's like, oh my, or you
Hmm.
get in an accident and you find yourself injured and you're having to, as you say, walk again and get yourself back to just, being able to do everyday activities on
Right.
your own. And that can be like a significant motivating factor to become healthier. The hope is though is that, beyond the event, beyond the thing, the diagnosis, that you're able to continue it throughout. And obviously you have. If
Yeah.
you took that and I think what you did was something that I wish that all people would do, is you made the decision that you're worth the time and effort to focus on yourself. And that's so funny. We think that that's selfish, and I think that that's essential. You have to take care of yourself. I am a better wife, mother, sister, friend, because I take good care of myself.
Is
Right.
how
And
significant uh is the role of nutrition in mental health, and what dietary changes have the most impact on a person?
yeah, so I would say nutrition is everything. It
Okay.
really is. And it's just as important as any other component you can think about. Because as I said, earlier in our interview today, is that it's known and it has been known among medical and wellness professionals that what you eat does have a direct correlation on how you feel. But what I would say that a lot of people don't understand is that you can literally um, put yourself in a very negative mental state,
Mhm.
as well as you can put yourself also in a very limiting physical state. So for instance, if you tend to gravitate towards uh, fattening, very high fat processed foods, high in sugar foods, when you feel stressed or overwhelmed,
Mhm.
over time, one, you're not helping yourself mentally, but over time, you are going to increase your likelihood of diabetes,
Mhm.
of heart disease, and potentially if you have a disposition towards cancer, you can increase the likelihood that you can get a type of cancer.
Mhm.
And so it definitely has a significant impact on it. What I have found though is that a lot of people think that they have to radically change their diet. And believe it or not, what I have found is that most people don't eat enough food. They actually eat the wrong types of food.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And many times when I have worked with clients, and I'm not a licensed dietitian, let me make that clear. I don't pretend to be. What
Right.
I do is help you get an understanding of what are the food combinations, um, what are the types of foods that will increase the likelihood that you're going to achieve the success that you want, and
Right.
success meaning not that you're thin, because you can be thin and not fit, but that you're going to be healthy, and
Right.
what does that mean? And I find that once I help people understand overall what your serving sizes, what are the appropriate foods that you should eat, and when you should eat those foods, that it has a dramatic impact on their physical and mental health.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That
Hmm.
is so true, because I had a guest on my podcast, and she was an expert in gut health, and she was talking about how the gut can affect your mental health as well, because we hold on to a lot of bacteria and things in our gut. And that was interesting to me, because that was the last thing that I would ever think, that your gut will have anything to do with your mental health. But yeah, she gave a lot of good information on that, and you know, um, how we should, when we detox and clean our body, our gut needs to be healthy as well. And I never knew that that had anything to do with your mental health, which was shocking to
Yeah,
me.
it
Yeah.
does. It really does.
Hmm. So I have another question. So as far as what strategies do you suggest for managing your stress in today's fast-paced world that we live in, because everything is so fast-paced right now. especially with technology and everybody wants like, it's like an instant gratification thing going on and we're constantly on the move and, a lot of people are just hustling and out here and ain't really thinking about their health, really. What information could you give as far as like people who are living those fast-paced lifestyles?
I would say give yourself permission to slow down and to focus.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And that sounds so simple, but you'd be surprised how many people, just in the schedule that they create for themselves each and every day, increases the likelihood that they're going to be stressed. And
Mm-hmm.
so what that may look like is when I, like I say, when I work with a client and we're looking at their schedule, I look to see, do you add time in between your meetings and sessions? Do you add time in for breaks?
Mm-hmm.
A mental health break, a time to eat, process your food, go to the restroom. Are you doing things that are stress producing? Like, for instance, when you're working, do you have multiple tabs open on your computer screen? When you're working on a specific task, and that's why the focus is so important. Are you looking at emails and text messages as during the time when you're working on something?
Mm.
Yeah,
I
because
find
that's
myself
going
doing
to,
that a lot.
yeah, I think a lot
Multitasking.
of people, you may
Yeah.
have like, six windows open
Yeah.
while you're working on one thing. And so, or, even as simple like as the desk, something that I do very intentionally is I remove the items off my desk once I'm finished with something. So
Mm.
I always keep that my work area clear. And I do
Mm.
the same thing with clients. If I'm working with a specific client, I have things as it applies to that client. Once I'm done with that client, I put that folder, lock it away
Mm-hmm.
so that I don't have all these things that I'm looking at. When
Right.
I'm working and I don't want to be distracted by my phone, I will put my phone on silent and I will actually put it where it's out of view
Mm-hmm.
so that I don't see notifications coming in or see it lightening up. And I will check it periodically, and I'm very strategic about when I check it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so and it, those are simple ways that you can literally decrease stress,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
Because I know I find myself doing that a lot. I'm focusing on so many things. Like I could go into my phone and read my emails and just like, just like that real quick, I could be on to my mind could be on to something else. So
Yeah.
that is so true. Just focusing on one goal at a time. I had to teach myself that. I was like, you know what? Even when it came down to my personal life, I was like, you know what?
Hmm.
Let me just handle one bill, get that paid. Then once that's out the way, then focus on instead of trying to focus on all these things at one time, because you could put so much burden on yourself rather than
Hmm.
just focusing on one thing at a time. So that is
Yeah.
important. That is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that one thing at a time is, as you said, is your personal life. It's even one person at a time,
Mm,
and it may seem really, like simple, but how many times have you been someone's in front of you and they're talking to you, but you're looking at your phone
mm,
or you're looking at the television or you're doing all these different things. You're moving and walking as opposed to just staying present. And I
yeah.
can't remember, I can't recall her name. She's a very significant person, a great writer, wonderful Black woman that's had a significant impact on, gosh, can I think of her name? But one of the things that she said is she would always rush out the door and she
Mm,
wouldn't spend time talking to her daughter. And
mm,
she realized she's like, wow, like my daughter only really wants 10 minutes.
mm,
And she stopped. She would make time to sit and talk with her daughter. And it was amazing. She said that when her daughter like walked away from her, she felt fulfilled and she knew her daughter was as well.
mm, mm.
So
Wow.
I would
Yeah.
say one thing at a time, but maybe one person at a time too.
Yeah. 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 And
Yeah.
another thing is, putting your phone down when you're out with a group of people and you're in a restaurant or something like that. Because, a lot of times you see people who are sitting at a table with family and friends or whatever, and they're not even communicating with the person that they're sitting with. They're on the phone. So we spend a lot of our time in our phones instead of being in the present moment, and communicating with people in front of us. That was something I had to do too, because to me, I think that's so disrespectful when you're sitting at a table with somebody and they're on their phone and you're not having any kind of interaction or communication,
Yeah,
So I think that's another thing that people should practice more, you
I
know?
agree. Yeah, I agree definitely. I think it is very disrespectful. I think it's dismissive
Yeah, it's like
to,
dismissing
yeah,
a person, right?
yeah, and saying that, this is more important than what's happening right now. And
Right,
something I will add too, I also will suggest to my class to not start their morning off on their phone. So instead of using that as an alarm clock, have a regular alarm clock and then have a designated time that you say, now I will look at my messages and everything. Because
right.
what you're doing when you do that is you're allowing the phone to dictate how you're going to start your day.
That's true. That's true. That's why when I first get my phone in the morning, the first thing I do is I
Mhm.
read a daily scripture. That's what I do.
Mm,
I have to read a daily scripture, because you could go sometimes in the morning. At one point, I used to get up, and the first thing I used to do was go straight to social media, and you could find yourself spending a lot of time on social media and not realizing it. And I was like, you know what? I got to stop doing this. I'm starting to become a social media addict. So I was like,
mhm.
you know what? Let me start my day another way by just reading the scripture and being in the present moment and not giving so much of my time on social media and less time, just spending more time just being uh present in the moment, with what's going on around me in the reality of the world. Because we can spend our life inside in these computers and in these phones.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So what are your future goals and plans for your integrative health practices?
Well, it's interesting because I see myself, and it's so funny. You'll appreciate this, Crystal. Like I feel like God has a vision that's so much bigger than what I could ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I feel that everything that I'm doing right now is leading me and is aligning me with what that vision.
Mm.
Okay. So to be honest with you, I don't know where that is because it's much bigger than I could ever realize. And I know that because I, for many years, have been blindly and faithfully going in this direction that God's been leading me. And many times it has not been clear why. I just felt something in my soul, spirit, and heart that
Right.
I needed to do. And I did follow accordingly and obediently. And I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is a lot of things that I'm being asked to do, from writing to speaking to my podcast that I have, my the work that I'm doing with school systems, the work that I get to do with so many wonderful professionals aren't
Right.
things that I ever thought I could do.
Right. Wow.
You see? And
Yeah.
so, my view of myself has been here. The view that God has for me has been here.
Right.
And so I'm still stepping into that. And so as my brand has grown and as my business is growing, each year it grows in a different way.
Mm.
And, at one point I was just providing mental health counseling, to a few teachers. Now I'm in charge of a whole school system and I'm working with, all these wonderful individuals. And now I'm getting ready to implement a youth empowerment program that will help kids with their mental and physical health and all these things. And then I'm getting opportunities to speak and do work on this board and do work on this board and all these
Right.
different things. So I don't know.
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I
You
would
don't
say
know
if I
what.
had to like choose a go, say if I, could pick, it would
Uh-huh.
be to help people throughout the world have the education, the information, and the resources they need to be mentally and physically healthy.
Right, right. Yeah, that's true. Because you never know where God is going to place you. You just keep
Mhm.
because you're so focused on, what you're doing and your passion and your purpose. And, God has plans for you that you don't foresee. It just happens. So,
Mhm.
but that is so true. So, what advice would you give someone who's looking to enter into the field of integrative health?
I would say one, if it's something that you are passionate about, do it because you do need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, the reality is that when you're working with many different people, you're dealing with many different personalities, many different challenges, because each person brings with them past events and experiences that you are supporting them through. And if you're not passionate about helping them,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to quit real early.
Mm. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because it really is hard. And believe it or not, as much as I would like to say, and I do believe it in my heart, soul, and spirit, that I have significantly impacted the lives of many people in a positive way. But I would also say that if you do it for gratification, if you do it for reward, if you do it for recognition, you're not going to always get it.
Right. Right.
And so you,
Right.
you really truly have to have a heart for the work and helping people. So if you have that and you're willing to do the work, and I would say really do the work, because one of the things that has been a frustration of mine is I have all these specialization, I have all these certifications, I have all these degrees, and it's so easy for someone to, with social media, for people to put you in a box, in a category that really limits the education and the training that I have. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's not always appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working in the fitness and mental wellness industry for decades,
Mm.
but it's
Yeah.
real easy for me to get replaced with someone who has a good social post.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that's the world that we're in now because I hear a lot of journalists say that, a lot of
Mhm.
journalists who have lost jobs because we have so many people on social media who are posting stories and things like that that kind of deleted their jobs. Um, but yeah, things have changed so much, a lot
Mhm.
has changed so much when it comes down to the social media. Has your background in sociology contributed to your understanding of clients' needs and behaviors?
I would say my life has.
Okay.
Yeah, my journey. I've had a very, very difficult journey to get here, Crystal. I really, really have.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I mean, I've had so much loss, so many traumatic experiences. And I and it's interesting because I don't regret any of them, as painful and as hurtful as they were.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I've had to overcome, I do know now that it has positioned me perfectly to support people who go through similar things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And though my loss, my trauma, my abuse is not the same as yours,
Mm-hmm.
or can it be? But
Right.
because I have experienced those things, I think I am able to connect with my clients from a very unique perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That you can't learn in a book. And
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true. That is so
Hmm.
true. Wow. So, one last question before we close out. How do you see technology influencing the integrative health field? And do you incorporate any tech tools into your practices?
It's funny. I probably should implement more, but because we are so tech heavy, I
Mm-hmm.
tend to shy away from that. I'm usually getting people away from their technological devices and really focusing on, and I'll say it like this. So, years ago, I used to recommend to, people like, you wear your Fitbit, wear this, uh, put stuff on your phone or in your computer. And what I recognize is that, they already are on those things, and it already puts a lot of stress,
Right.
and always tracking, what you're doing, or reading this, or inputting that, and I'm not against it, but I have found we're already so much in it that I
Right.
think because we're so much in it, I almost kind of want to get you away from it.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, yeah. So I really am saying, instead of track yourself, just do 100% what you can do within that time and be totally focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, it will be job well done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Angela, thank you so much for stopping in. I appreciate you for sharing so much informative information, that the audience, I'm sure, can use to help them in their life and as well as mine, because I'm always learning stuff from the guests when they come on the podcast. And do you have any social media handles that you want to throw out there where people can follow you or reach out to you if they need to?
Yeah, just simply empowered.
Okay.
Empowered by Angela. Empowered by Angela. I'm on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. And you can go to my website, Empowered by Angela, and that'll link you to everything. That's all me.
Oh, okay. All right. That's easy. That's easy to
Yeah.
find. It's not complicated. So,
Yeah, yeah. And even my own podcast is on there as well. And then my podcast on YouTube is Empowered with Angela T. Moore. I had to spell it out a little more because who's going to know who Angela is? So
right, right.
it's Empowered with Angela T. Moore.
Okay. Well, thanks again for stopping in. And for those who are watching, make sure you tune in for this episode that will be airing uh, next Friday at 7 o'clock. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because when you subscribe, I could bring more guests on like Angela and also watch the content. Don't just subscribe. We want you to watch the content so you can get the information that you need that you can implement into your life. And Angela, thanks again for stopping in. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you are very appreciated as well. Thank you so much, Crystal.
You're welcome. You take care.
Thank you.